Let's just talk about Israel and Netanyahu and the IDF killing 3 of the hostages yesterday. Let's just break that down for a little bit, because Hamas had managed to keep these hostages alive through months of bombing. They kept them alive, but within seconds, minutes of meeting them, of rescuing them, the Israeli Defense Forces murdered them. They don't have any weapons. They don't look like they pose a threat. That's their excuse, is they look like they pose a threat. But when Israel's been lying about so many things in this war, you know, if they could even come up with a lie, they would have done it. If they'd said, oh, well, they dressed them up as soldiers and, put guns on them or something. But they didn't even come up with a lie like that. So basically, this means numerous things. One, Hamas kept them alive all that time, and then Israel killed them the first chance they got. Secondly, they traded a lot of hostages previously. They could have continued to do that. Instead of continuing to do that, Bibi Netanyahu and his cabinet chose war. Those guys need to be overthrown. Even before any of this happened, the people in Israel were calling for his ouster, calling to overthrow his government. They're calling even loudlier now that he's perpetrating a war and murdering so many civilians in Gaza. How much louder should the calls be now? They should be loud enough to finally overthrow Netanyahu. And we should see that as the only right thing to do, since it's his choices that led directly to this happening. But you also have to think about, if they're shooting these unarmed hostages, how many other unarmed civilians are they just shooting? And this is the example that we hear about on the news. But we haven't heard as much about this happening plenty of times before this. I got the impression they were just bombing, really. I didn't get the impression there was a lot of shooting going on. But they did manage to shoot the hostages. And to me, that says they probably have been shooting a lot of other unarmed people who also pose no threat this entire time. We don't get that type of reporting, but mathematically it makes sense if they shot the hostages. But mostly it just shows that it doesn't work. The plan doesn't work. Peace can work, negotiations can work, talking can work, but bullets and bombs and war don't work. They just make everything worse. And they keep making everything worse. This should backfire and be the end of not just Netanyahu's regime, but the end of war. It should be enough for people to overthrow all the tyrants who are doing the same type of thing, creating situations to perpetuate war, and we can do that if we just advocated enough. This is a terrible incident, but the killing of these 3 hostages isn't any more terrible than killing of any other 3 innocent people in Gaza, and they've done that 6,000 times over. Well, for a total of 18,000 people or 20,000 people by now, or who knows how many thousands of people if we don't stop this by the time you see this. So what we need to do is just talk about it. I say we can do it from bed. I call it the pillow revolution, until the true ideas about stuff like ending tyranny and ending war and having people with the foresight of what that's going to look like in a post-war, post-tyrant world, and then we'll get there. Thank you.